pollster Frank Luntz joining us right now. Frank, what do you think?
Well, Nevada is going to be a 1 or 2 percent point race. That 51% of the state doesn't want to vote for Harry Reid for re-election. They're looking for an excuse not to. This may be that issue that causes them to make the difference. But nationwide, immigration tends to run at about the 3rd or 4th highest preference. And among those who prioritize immigration, they support the Arizona law by close to 2 to 1. They oppose the federal government intervening, and they are much more likely to vote in the election than the average voter. So put that all together, and you've got immigration being a net positive for the Republicans come Election Day, which is why I'm surprised that the Obama administration has been so public and so outspoken against Arizona.
Some today have even called the lawsuit a lose-lose for Democrats. Do you agree with that?
It reminds me of the National Rifle Association gun control debates of the 1980s and 1990s, when the Democrats could not understand why polling showed that by a narrow majority, Americans supported some of the positions that the Democrats were taking, and yet every time they stepped into the gun control debate, they lost. Because in the end, those who care about, in this case, immigration, who care about controlling the borders, preventing illegal immigration, are far more active, far more outspoken, and far more likely to vote. Even with the yelling and screaming that you've got on the camera right there, it's the people who are hostile to illegal immigration that are more interested in the electoral process.
Yes, and again, showing some of the protests that are held in Arizona, thus the yelling and screaming, Frank. But can't this bring out maybe an Hispanic vote, which might not have been there, which could, if they go Democrat, help the Democrats in states like Arizona, Nevada, and California, where there is a sizable Latino population?
That's a very smart approach, and I think it will matter in certain districts, but you've got to look at the entire picture. Latinos make up a significant percentage of Arizona, California, Nevada, as you talked about. They're a significant percentage of Florida. So the Democrats are looking at making a difference in those specific states. But here's the bigger picture. Overall, Republicans hold a 2 or 3 point generic ballot lead. That means that by a couple points, more Americans will vote Republican over Democrat right now in July. With this immigration, the more that it becomes an issue, the wider that spread works nationwide, and the more likely the Republicans are to pick up seats, maybe not in California, Arizona, but across the country.
Well, you know something about polls, but so do we. So we're going to call you, and we're going to up your ante on this. We did a new Fox poll, Frank, that the president is losing big support among people who identify themselves as independents. 40% of those reached out who said, yeah, I'm an independent, are disappointed. 21% are downright angry.
And those are the voters that I'm looking at. They're called floating voters or swing voters. They're independent because they reject Republicans and Democrats. They think that all of Washington, D.C. is broken. And in the fall, at this point, they are not going to vote for the Republican, but they are going to vote against the Democrat. So when Republicans sit back and think, well, they've got a majority, as some of their leadership talks about, it's a mistake. But when Democrats think that they're going to be returned to the majority, it's even a greater miscalculation. I watched this in 1994, and every single indicator of where the American people, and you got the polling question right up there, 55% more likely to vote for Republican because it puts a check and a balance on Barack Obama and the Democrats. If you compare the data today with 1994, the Republicans are in a much better shape to capture the majority on the 7th of July than they were in 1994 at this time.
You know, that is a great point as well, because talk to us about history. American parties in office have never liked it when you've got a one-party controlled White House, Senate, and House of Representatives, have they?
Now, and let's add to that, they opposed the health care plan. A majority opposed what Obama passed. They opposed the stimulus package. They opposed the spending. They opposed cash for clunkers. They, by big numbers, opposed the bailouts. On legislation after legislation after legislation, regardless of your political affiliation, the American people have said no to virtually all of the Obama agenda. So while Barack Obama still has a positive personal favorability, where he stands on the issue, and more importantly, where Congress stands, the American people are saying no. That's why, as we get closer to the election, the likelihood of Republicans capturing a majority of the House increases.
Frank Luntz, thank you very much, sir, as always.
Pleasure.
Your tax dollars at